Hello and welcome to the People Like Us podcast. I am Anna, the founder of WeMigo, and this is our space to have honest conversations about friendship, belonging, and building something real, whether that is your dream life, a sense of home, or a business. In this podcast, you can expect honest conversations about balancing building friendships, building your career, finding your dream job, and everywhere in between. We talk about finding your people while also finding yourself because, in all honesty, both are needed to thrive. So welcome to the first episode here. I'm very excited to be here. As a quick intro, since this is our first episode, I am Anna. I'm the founder of WeMigo, which is a social app really meant for finding your people. And I decided to create this podcast kind of through my journey of creating friendships in a new city while also building my own business from scratch and kind of seeing how all of it really intertwines together. I love to read about like kind of best business practices as well as kind of really always trying to like improve my social life as well because it really makes me feel fulfilled as a person. And so I thought that it would be a great space to kind of talk about that because I think we're all in the same boat. Now, for this first episode, I want to talk about a topic that I think is super core to just the reason why I decided to create this podcast and something that's really important to me, which is why it's so hard to create genuine friendships as an adult. And also, why are these genuine friendships so important for our personal success? And this is a really important topic to me. And I think that it's an important topic for everyone because right now we live in a world where loneliness is so prevalent in our society. We have access to more than ever on resources to connect with people, whether it's through social media, apps and such, but somehow people are feeling more lonely than ever. And this is something that people talk about on the news and on social media and such. Everyone's talking about how lonely everyone's feeling. And so I think that there's this really weird paradox where it's so much easier in theory to connect, but at the same time, people are feeling more lonely than ever. And so I think this is a topic that we need to kind of discuss a little bit more instead of just accepting that this is the way it is and really understanding why is it the way it is and what can we do to change. And I really think that it's important for us to work together as a society to really prioritize adult genuine friendships because true core friendships, I believe, are key to your personal success, whether you're looking for success in your business, in your career, in building your dream life. If you have your core people, even if it's just 1, 2 people that you feel really comfortable and close to, that can be a game changer for what you're trying to achieve on a personal level. And I think that making friends as an adult nowadays isn't hard because we don't know how to socialize or because everyone has social anxiety or because there's something necessarily wrong with you. But I think that really the actual problem is the fact that we have too many options out there. I think that there's a lot of dialogue nowadays around the dating world and how it's so hard to date in modern society because we have access to so many different options on apps and events and such, so that people are kind of oversaturated with these options and then end up kind of with this mentality of I can always find better. And I really think that that same dialogue can translate exactly to adult friendships, where we have access to so many different means of connecting to people, whether it's through social media. There's also apps and meetups and such in cities, and especially big cities and such. And so I think it happens where we, without really paying attention, go for more quantity of just spreading out as wide as possible, seeing how many connections can we make, because we think, of course, it's a numbers game, and the more people I connect to, then the more likely I am to kind of create a more deeper connection. And instead, we spread ourselves thin, and we only find those surface level connections, which do not fulfill us from a very personal, deep space. And so I really think nowadays it's not hard to meet people. I think that we're in a world where it's super easy to meet people, but it is really hard to make friends because we have too many options for connection. And I think that this is something that is very true and personal to me because I am actually an expat from the US that moved to Spain 7 years ago. And so I moved to a new country where I knew no one. And I kind of experienced this firsthand, as probably a lot of you have, kind of moving to a new city where you see so many different ways to connect with people. And of course, when you're new to a city, you want to join every single event, you get on all the apps, seeing how can I connect with as many people as possible because I need to find my core circle here. And at first when it seems promising, it then kind of feels really overwhelming because you're oversaturated and such. And so I think that we're in a world where we see people online connecting, we see people doing plans and stuff, and in our mind, we compare and we say, well, I want that connection. Maybe what we're seeing online is still service level connection, but we're in a world where I think everyone is looking for more and more genuine connection, but it's hard to find. And we also at the same time think that perhaps everyone already has it because of what we see on social media. So it's a very hard time for genuine connection. And I think that this is something that relates as well to the dating world. And I think that we put a little bit more effort in discussion on dating because there's some societal expectation that dating is super important to have a successful existence, to find your life partner and such. And but then we don't really put as much emphasis or priority on the friendship side, which I believe is just as important or even more important than finding your soulmate, let's say, because we are very social beings as humans and we need a community to survive. And so having your core group of people, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, is going to be pivotal for your personal success and feeling like of self-fulfillment, if that makes sense. Now, I think that people tend to talk about friendships super casually because people maybe even get embarrassed. Like, I'm looking for new friends, or I feel like I don't really have enough friends. I think it's something that people feel really embarrassed to. And this is maybe why there's not so much dialogue around it. There's dialogue around dating because it's something that has gotten super open and talked around about on the internet. But when it comes to friendships, I think it feels a little bit like, I don't know. I remember when I first moved to a city and I was looking for friends, I felt super weird or uncomfortable being like, yeah, I'm going to this event. I'm going to hope to make friends, or I don't have that many friends. I remember even when I was first moving to Spain 7 years back, feeling embarrassed when I was talking to about like the friends I had because I only had just like a few. And I think it's something that is a little bit taboo, perhaps. This concept of making friends, and it shouldn't be. I think that finding your friend soulmates, let's say your platonic soulmates, should be a normal quest to find because I think that it's a very normal transition in life where we start as children, we have our childhood friends and such, we grow, we go to college, university, and we make our best friends there. But then once we become a college graduate and we go out into the world, we're left alone and we need people to accompany us in that stage of life. And it's difficult. And I think people think it's embarrassing, but I think that it's way more normal than people really like to give it credit for, where we're adults and looking for people and such. And so I think the whole point with this is that finding genuine friendships is not a want that we all have. It's not something where we're all just like, oh, I love to have more friends to have plans with or to talk to, or I want that girlfriend I can just call up and such. So I'm not always calling my mom, or I want a guy that I can go do this hobby with. I don't think that having genuine friendships or finding these genuine friendships is a want that we all have. I genuinely believe that this is a need, and it's backed up by psychology, that we as humans obviously need a core community to thrive. And if you're somebody who has very strong ambitions in your personal life where you want to feel fulfilled, whether it's personally, professionally, socially, whether you have dreams to travel, create an amazing company, exceed in your career, you need to feel fulfilled internally. And a very important aspect of being fulfilled, feeling fulfilled internally, is surrounding yourself by people that kind of fuel your fire, give you a sense of community. And this is, and I don't mean just people that you can go out and party with, which is also great, of course, but I mean those people that you can cry to, that you feel like you can be at home with, people that feel like family. And I don't say this lightly because I know it's not easy to find this person. I don't believe that it's as easy to just go on the street and put effort in and then now you have your person that you can just call up whenever and you feel at home with. I think that very few people truly have that friend. But this is something that I think that we all truly have a deep desire to have. Not only because it's obviously nice to have people that make you feel like home, but because we truly need it. Because if we surround ourselves with people that love us, we love ourselves more. And vice versa. If we love ourselves more, we can also give love out more. So I think that, as I mentioned a little bit, adult friendship feels harder partially because we have so many different options available now. We are spreading ourselves thin. But I think that's something else. If you think about what creates genuine friendship, if you think back into childhood, into your college years, your best friends that you had then, most of these came because you saw them on a repetitive basis, whether it was your school friends, where you would see them literally every single day, or your college friends, maybe you guys went to the same club, or maybe you had the same course that you went to. All of these repeated shared experiences in our early years of both childhood and adulthood created these initial friendships that we all love and cherish. And it's something that in modern day adulthood, post college, post university, we do not have. We don't have this built in repetition unless we're talking about, of course, maybe your work colleagues and such. And I think that this is something that really makes it even harder in general, not just in modern day society, but in general as an adult throughout the last few decades to really create those friendships because we don't have any built in repetition in our life anymore. And so we have to create moments to create these connections. And so we, as I said, go out, try to connect with people and such. And then instead of finding what we want to find, we end up just meeting a ton of people and spread ourselves thin. And so, really, the biggest reason, in my point of view, that adult friendship is hard is because of these two reasons. Because we are spreading ourselves thin with an oversaturation of opportunities to connect, and because we don't have built in repetition to allow for genuine connections to grow and have time to flourish and such. Now, I think that there's something really important that we should define right now, which is what I've kind of alluded to a little bit, which is the difference between meeting people and truly connecting. And I think that this difference is core to really kind of understanding what you need from friendships and what you're looking for as a person. Meeting people is something that is, as I said, is super easy. You can go out on the street and meet people right now, even if you're shy and don't like just meeting, like talking to people. You can still easily meet people by going to some kind of event that makes sense for you. Maybe it's a book club or board game night. Maybe if you're more extroverted, it's going out and meeting people at a bar. There's so many ways to meet people, and assuming that you put in the effort, that is not hard. Meeting people is not hard. Having those initial, let's say, connections is not hard, but deep connection is hard. And this is something that is always hard because connecting deeply with someone on a friendship level or even on a romantic level anyway is difficult because you have to kind of shed a layer of yourself and open up emotionally to someone to, and also let them open up emotionally to you to create a genuine friendship. And this is something that people have kind of discussed in the dating world, again, as I mentioned, where you kind of get to the point with someone that you're dating where you got to get to the point where you kind of open up more. Maybe you say you love each other and you kind of create like this one emotional attachment. But no one ever discusses that that same kind of attachment emotionally needs to happen with your core friendships to create that genuine connection where you really feel connected with someone. And now I do think it is important to point out that all of the friends that we have as an adult do not need or maybe even shouldn't have that deep connection that I'm discussing. I'm not saying that every single person you hang out with, you need to have that deep emotional connection because firstly, I think that that's impossible because in the end, we don't emotionally connect on that deep of a level with everyone. And also, I don't think that we need to have that many people, but having one or two or three people in our lives that we can feel at home with, that we can open up to, that we know that they see you and you see them is a very beautiful thing. And that is what we want. And I think that there is a difference in kind of when you think about your friendship circle, maybe you have like your core friends, which are those core deep connections. And then you have like your secondary friends, which maybe you don't connect so deeply with emotionally, but they're great for different plans that you have. And you can still like talk about life and stuff. And I think that that is fine. But being able to feel seen is something that is super important, and being able to connect is something that is really important. And just going and meeting people is only the first step because then you need to have that repetition that I mentioned before to really allow space for that emotional connection to grow. And so I think that really kind of understanding that difference between putting less emphasis in trying to meet more people, but instead more emphasis on kind of quality connections and building a base or a foundation for genuine friendships is something that maybe we don't even understand is something that we need to kind of prioritize more. And I think that something else that is super trendy nowadays is kind of the whole concept of how can we, I guess, curate a way to make sure that people connect on a deeper level. Because obviously, as we know, not everyone is going to connect with everyone. Everyone has their own way of thinking, their own values, and so some people end up vibing better than with other people. And so nowadays, where it's super trendy to talk about AI and algorithms and tech and such, there's so many companies out there trying to create algorithms that can kind of, I guess, predict human connection, whether it's on dating apps, whether it's through meetup apps, where they're really trying to create compatibility based off of different variables that they deem to be important, whether it's a personality test or XYZ. But I think that we're in a world where so many tech companies are spilling millions and billions of dollars into trying to create algorithms to predict human connection. And I think what's interesting about that is it kind of makes you step back and think, what actually makes me click with someone? If you think about your best friend, maybe it's your childhood friend, maybe it's the person you call up every day, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your sibling, the somebody who you connect super deeply with. If you have a problem, they're the first person you would call. If you think about what makes you connect and vibe with that person, I bet you it's really hard to kind of put into words what it is. You can say, yeah, like we can just talk without stopping, or I just feel really comfortable with them, or maybe even share some hobbies together. Maybe you have the same sense of humor. Like there might be different variables that kind of explain your connection. But I bet you that what explains your connection with that person maybe could be not the same reason why I have a genuine and really deep connection with my person, or why the person next door has a really deep and genuine connection with their person. And my point here is that the reason why we connect, I think, is a lot deeper than why what we think service level. Yeah, you might share the same sense of humor or hobbies with someone. Maybe you have similar values and such. And I think that that maybe is a little bit of like a tip of the iceberg of understanding why you personally vibe with someone and connect deeper with someone. But I think that there's something more deep and profound that we can't even put into words or maybe even understand, where you can just click with someone, you're on the same wavelength, and you just have that same energy. And that's something that I think sometimes algorithms fail to predict, because I think that there's a lot of people who can connect and vibe amazingly, but maybe an algorithm would say that they're not compatible at all. I think it's really funny. I've seen like videos of couples even talking about how on paper they're not compatible at all, whether it's because they have different zodiac signs, or maybe because one loves adventure stuff and the other one likes to just lay down on the couch all day. I don't know. Like there's so many different examples of people who vibe so well together, but on paper, maybe an algorithm would never put them together because it's beyond kind of human understanding, or, of course, machine understanding. And I think that this is something that as we grow into a world where apps and technology are continue to take more and more space in our life, I think it's really important to never forget that human connection can never be created artificially from a machine. And so no matter what new ideas come out there, what new solutions are out there, we must remember to always prioritize the vibe or how we feel together, because that is really what we need to continue to prioritize the genuine friendships and not let these kind of superficial algorithms take over, because then we're going to feel more lonely than ever. Now, so I think that kind of with all of this, what I'm trying to say is that making friends as an adult and finding those genuine connections is hard, not because you're failing, but because real connection really needs that repetition and intention and care that I'm mentioning to succeed. And I think that this is something that I want you to feel validated for wanting to find and wanting to kind of search for, or feeling the need to connect more, because I think it's so important for you to be able to grow in whatever you're building as a person. And so if I can leave you with anything, I think that it's really important to understand that firstly, repetition is something that we can easily curate in our life. If you vibe with someone initially, I think it's really important to kind of set up spaces where you can allow that connection to grow. Instead of continuing to then just meet more people that you vibe with, why don't you try to create more spaces? Maybe it's going out with dinner with them. Maybe it's inviting them to a group activity you're doing so that that connection can flourish, because you need to put in time to allow those friendships to grow. And that intention is something that I think that we're all scared to give, because of course creating connection can be scary. It makes us vulnerable, but that intention is something that we need. And so I don't think that any of us are failing or making friendships is hard because it's impossible or because the society we live in is difficult. I think it's because we just need to all put more intention into the right thing, not into meeting people, but into quality connections. So we need to really give friendship the space it deserves, both because it's something that you need personally, because you need to have people that you can count on, because it will make you feel more fulfilled personally. And it shouldn't be the last priority in our list. I think that we end up with such a long list of priorities in our life, whether it's our career, dating, family, wellness, and such. And friendship seems to not really feel like it has its place in that list. But I would venture to say that it might be one of the most important priorities on that list, because if you feel fulfilled in the connection that you have, then you're going to be able to thrive in all other aspects of your life a lot easier. So I really hope that whoever's listening kind of resonates with this, understands the difficulty that it is. I know that this is something that I've resonated with for so long, kind of with my journey on moving to Spain and making friends here and such. And this is kind of completely the reason why I feel so passionate about the company that I'm personally building as well, for kind of helping curate like those connections and repeat experiences and such with people through WeMigo. And I think that really for me, finding your people means, as I mentioned, finding people that you feel genuinely connected to and at home with. And I think that's something that we should all look for and such. So I hope that this kind of gave you a little bit more motivation to feel validated in your search for those genuine connections, understand kind of maybe what should be prioritized instead to kind of let those happen and such. So thank you for listening to the People Like Us podcast. This is our first episode. I'm so happy that you're here. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. And if this resonated with you, feel free to send it to someone that you think would like it too. And I will see you next time. Bye.